Colorado just finished practice number 12. Brian, after tomorrow, they're going to be more than halfway through the preseason. It's been going by pretty fast.
It has been, and I think the positive thing out of today was Coach Mike McIntyre afterwards said this was probably the best practice we've had. So you like to see that. The camp legs aren't really showing up at this point. Who knows if they will, but it's positive that they're not right now.
I think one reason that might be is there's a lot of competition in a lot of spots. But Mike McIntyre did say after Friday's scrimmage they want to start locking down the depth chart a little bit more, obviously start to get into game planning mode at that point.
Yeah, and with that cornerback position, I don't know when they're going to lock that down because, as we were talking before, I'm not sure we could really pinpoint who's going to start at this point because there's 4 or 5 guys in there that really could. But, yeah, certainly offensive line, you want to start locking that down a little bit. Defensive line, there's – I'm trying to think of the other spots, but like inside linebacker, you got some talent there, but you kind of want to figure out who's going to play where. But yeah, I think they want to get closer to locking that down for sure.
Well, backup quarterback as well.
Yeah,
I keep hearing that Sam Noyer's been making strides.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tyler Lytle has a lot of upside as a passer, but I think it's going to be hard not to name Sam Noyer the backup, at least if what I'm hearing is really true.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Roper last week, and he said, well, right now Sam's just a little ahead of Tyler. Just he's been in the system, and Coach Roper and talked to another assistant coach last weekend that said Sam Noyer has been really impressive this camp and has taken that next step, and so that's really good to see. I mean, this is a kid that has got some talent. He's got a great arm, and I hear he's a good runner as well. And he's got some experience a little bit, and so you want him to take that next step. And so if he truly has, then maybe he's ready to be that number 2.
One other guy I talked to is Jace Frankie. He'd been kind of a Swiss Army knife on the defensive line. Mike McIntyre says that's going to continue, especially they don't have a lot of depth at nose tackle, so he's got to fill in there a little bit, especially on passing downs. They get Mustafa Johnson back in practice, Chris Malumba back. All of a sudden, that defensive line is starting to look quite a bit better, at least in practice.
Yeah, I mean, really, when they're healthy, you've got to look at there's a pretty good rotation of like 6 guys that have shown flashes at least, and you want them to play a lot better than last year, but at least you've got some options there. Whereas last year, I don't think you went 6 deep, did you? I mean, you probably went 4 or 5 deep,
yeah.
But this year I think 6 and maybe even 7 if like Atava Finau comes on at some point this year. So I think they're getting some depth there at defensive line, and if these guys are getting better like we hear they are, then that might not be such a bad group like it was last year.
And I heard Israel Antwine does 500 push-ups a day. How many days would it take for you to do that, Brian?
A half. I do 1,000 a day. So that would it'd probably take me all of camp to do that.
Jace Frankie said he's never seen another freshman defensive lineman come in with the strength that he has. Another true freshman we hear is making waves is Hassan Hippolyte. That's a guy we thought might play a little bit just because of the depth at safety. Came in from the Houston area, pretty athletic guy.
Yeah, and he's, from what I hear, making plays and kind of turning heads a little bit and moving up that depth chart at safety, which they need because that's one area that depth-wise I'm still a little concerned about, especially when you see Evan Worthington sitting out the scrimmage with a concussion. He had the one in the spring as well, so you have to kind of worry about him a little bit. But behind Worthington and Fisher, there's not a whole lot of depth there. And I like what Aaron Maddox can bring, but he's never played at this level. And I don't believe – in fact, I think Trigo is the most experienced backup with 30 career snaps. So you've got to have guys like Hippolyte kind of step up and show that they can play.
Obviously, a tragic situation at Maryland earlier this summer. A player dies during conditioning, I believe. You asked Mike McIntyre about that. They're obviously a lot more conscious about it. I would imagine that's pretty rare that a kid would have heat issues and not have it addressed by the training staff.
Yeah, probably pretty rare, but I think that I've got to think that Colorado and every other program around the country is at least more aware of it after seeing that, and kind of keeping your eyes a little bit more on guys. And the good thing Mike McIntyre said that they always do that anyway, and that if guys feel anything, that they're sending them off to the side. And so you hope there's never a situation like that. Just a tragic situation out of Maryland.
All right, they have another practice tomorrow, and then Friday a closed scrimmage. So we're getting closer and closer to the Rocky Mountain Showdown.